Co-op games. I love them. I love playing with friends, and I genuinely believe gaming is something meant to be enjoyed with other people.
Wait, they're weak. Baka.
I mean, sure, there's a lot of awesome single-player games out there, don't get me wrong, but the joy of playing a good game with a group of your buddies always hits that sweet spot for me. Co-op games to me are the pinnacle of that. They're games that force you to work together, and oftentimes not only test the capabilities of every individual involved, but also your group chemistry. So why do I mention co-op games? Well, much like everyone on this beautiful blue planet we call the Earth, I have been addicted to Lethal Company. I'm sure most of you are already familiar with the game, after all it's been all over YouTube. This game pretty much took the world by storm over the past couple of weeks, and for a good reason, since in all honesty, Lethal Company is one of the best co-op games I've ever played.
What the hell, guys?
So, what is Lethal Company? Well, I'll explain for those somehow still unfamiliar with it. Lethal Company is a co-op survival horror game where you and your friends explore monster-infested, randomly generated facilities in order to scavenge loot. The game is very simple. You work for a company that may or may not be lethal, I don't know. This company demands a quota from you and tasks you to meet it within a couple of days, lest you lose your job. In order to meet this quota, you have to bring them scraps, random items, toys, or whatever has monetary value in the eyes of the company pretty much. Every time you meet the quota, they give you a higher one after, requiring you to find more and more items as the run progresses, until eventually, it just becomes too unreasonable and the run ends. Of course, it's not so simple as just getting these items. Like I mentioned earlier, the facilities you scavenge are crawling with SCP-esque monsters. Just things you don't want to mess with. The longer you stay in the facility, the higher risk of you getting mauled by some Lovecraftian horror. However, the more items the company demands, the deeper into the facility you must go. And that's basically the entire gameplay loop. Very simple, as you can probably tell. So why are people flipping their shit over what seems to be just an SCP Containment Breach clone? Well, one reason is how well it does proximity voice.
How do we get there? Stamina, then I'm gonna do one more run.
Where? Fuck.
You guys need to jump.
Obviously, having proximity voice on in a horror game is nothing new. A lot of games in the past have done it. However, there's something about the dynamic of proximity voice and the randomly generated map alongside the various monsters within that just oozes out chaos. Hearing the muffled screams of your teammate being choked by a bug or your friend being gunned down across the map can make for some very unexpected laughs.
It's a jump.
Of course, the game also makes use of the proximity voice as a mechanic for some of the monsters. A handful of them are attracted and aggroed by any sound your character makes, including the voice chat.
The key's right here in the floor.
To me though, what makes this game truly special is not the proximity voice, not the otherworldly horrors or anything like that, but its potential for raw, unbridled chaos. As I mentioned earlier, the game is labeled survival horror, meaning your characters aren't very strong. In fact, most of the time, the best bet is to just book it out of there. The game is called horror, but honestly, I'd label it more of a suspense game if that's even a game genre. The horror doesn't come from how scary the monsters are or cheap jump scares or anything from a traditional horror game, but rather from the constant looming dread and uncertainty. The fact that everything can go south in the blink of an eye, and trust me, it can. In all honesty though, sometimes you'd want things to go wrong. The game isn't at its best when you're winning by a landslide and getting all these materials scot-free. You might think that's the case since, after all, you'd usually play games to win. While yes, I agree, winning is fun, but I'd say Lethal Company is at its absolute best when you survive just by the skin of your teeth, barely breathing.
Oh, get me out! Oh my fucking. Okay, guys, Okay, guys. That was awesome. I am leaving this place.
In fact, I believe the game kind of encourages this type of experience. After all, from what I know, there's no way to beat the game. You just play until a game over. The journey is what makes the game, not the destination, and you'd want that journey to be as thrilling as possible. Lethal Company absolutely shines in its unpredictability. Absolutely anything can happen, and people can die to quite literally anything, such as just jumping off railings for absolutely no reason.
But she die.
All our money gone.
Nowhere is safe in this game, and there's never a feeling of certainty. You guys probably think only the inside of the facility is dangerous, but the entire map is a death trap. The uncertainty is enhanced even more by the fact that the planets can have different conditions, such as flooded, filled with dogs, or just random pits of quicksand. In fact, I'd say the deadliest thing in this game aren't the monsters within the complex, but the goddamn lightning during storms.
That just happened.
Anything can happen, and all the mechanics the game throws at you play around that fact. The voice chat, the random map, random spawns, random everything just makes every session of this game truly one of a kind. Every experience in this game is once in a lifetime, and you will never ever be able to replicate that one funny moment no matter how hard you try.
Are you all just standing?
Talking about the gameplay, it's really nothing crazy, and I don't think it needs to be. The simplicity of the game is perfect for me. It's very easy to wrap your head around the mechanics, and the game feels as if you're just breathing air with how simple it is to grasp. Of course, every monster has their own mechanics that make them absolutely terrifying in their own right, but they never have anything complicated about them. Most of the threats can be dealt with and disposed of with relative ease if you keep a clear head. But with the aforementioned unpredictability of literally everything in this game, it's very difficult to do that. For example, this monster called the Coil-head works exactly the same as SCP-137. Keep your eyes glued on him because if you look away, he will run towards you at full speed and murder you. What the fuck?
Oh shit!
This isn't that big of an issue on paper, but this means you'd have to walk through the facility backwards. A facility littered with landmines and sentry guns and monsters that will bite your head off. The game obviously has its fair share of bullshit, and it isn't exactly honest with the way it throws things at you, but it is relatively forgiving with the fact that only one person in your party needs to survive for you all to escape with your loot, and you just end up laughing off whatever disaster happened with your friends in the end.
You're gonna hit that. Oh, you fuck.
It's just how did it feel?
As a co-op, it doesn't really demand super high levels of cooperation, especially compared to some other co-op horror titles like GTFO for example. Instead, the quote-unquote co-op shines in the fact that you will be screaming your head off not alone, but alongside a friend. Or laughing at their untimely death, it's up to you, I guess.
Springos, you get done, move! Oh my god.
Now of course, there are some aspects of the game that require the cooperation of your team, such as disabling traps, calling out enemy locations, carrying loot, etc. But it isn't exactly make or break. You can totally run this game solo with next to no issues, but the question is, do you really want to? The co-op isn't there as a crutch for the game to lean on, but rather a tool to enhance the experience by tenfold. Exploring the winding halls of the facilities with a group of friends, constantly dreading your deaths, is ironically some of the most fun I've had in gaming over the past couple years. This game is truly one of a kind, and provides one of a kind experiences every time you launch it. The label horror is very unfitting in my opinion, since Lethal Company is one of the funniest games I've played as of lately, and brought out a lot of genuine laughter from not only me but my entire friend group. It's been a good bonding experience for all of us, I'd say, just being able to laugh at the silliest things while playing. We don't necessarily play to win most of the time. Well, of course we don't want to lose, but having fun is always on the forefront of our minds while playing. Dicking around is completely fine, and when someone gets another person in trouble, everyone just laughs it off. Games are meant to be fun, and that's something that's ironically been disappearing from gaming recently. A lot of competitive games are on the rise, and people usually play games to be the best at it or just be better than someone else. But people seem to be forgetting what gaming is truly about. Lethal Company revives that magic we probably all felt when we first started playing games. Playing to have fun, and playing to enjoy time with friends. It's a limited game in scope, but it's a game with unlimited potential of chaos and hijinks. A game meant to be enjoyed, a game meant to be fun, and that's why Lethal Company hits different.